What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. So in this video, I want to talk about the situation with C.J. King, potential attorney at law, and black people's response, but more importantly, black women's response, right? So, so CJ, he posted a post, He posted something on social media, probably Instagram, saying something to the effect of basically he's the prize because he has his law degree now, right? He has his Juris Doctorate. I think that's how you say it. His JD, right? And as far as I know, based on what I've been hearing, he hasn't passed the bar. And you have to pass the bar in order to legally practice law and, to legally be an attorney or a lawyer. And he hasn't passed that. And people have said that his grades are, pretty much a C average. It pretty much is a C average grade, perhaps a C plus, but around an average of a C plus, or whatever for his grade point average, right? But nevertheless, he did post this post on social media. And the thing is, his post was directed specifically at black women, oddly enough. And, he's saying that he is the prize because he is in small supply and limited supply. Like, basically, he is an exceptional brother, right? And, black women want the exceptional brothers, right? But yeah, I noticed that he did specifically address black women. Notice that he didn't address non-black women or just women in general, right? Because the thing is, I don't think if he were to address non-black women specifically or just women in general, I don't think he would be able to kind of like quote unquote get away with it, for a lack of a better phrase, right? Because, when it comes to what CJ was talking about and his, offering, or what he is saying that makes him valuable, right? Or the prize, as he put it. Those things are kind of like standard in other communities typically, right? They're not really just celebrated to the top, like, wow, my God, right? But because the standards are like set low in the black community, and because of the gender role confusion, we got CJ coming through with this bullshit, right? And I will say, in the black community, CJ probably could be a prize, especially for black women who are, very much black men only, right? So because of that, CJ, he is probably, it's like an inconvenient truth, unfortunately, for the black women. So yeah, CJ, for those black women, probably could be the prize, or a prize, right? And then there was a whole debate about, oh, are men the prize, are women the prize, blah, 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 right? And I'll say that generally speaking, women are, the prize. But I think in cases like this, I think men are valuable. I think that's a better phrase to put it versus the prize. Perhaps CJ misspoke. Perhaps he said what he said. I don't know. But I'll say valuable in this case, right? Men, for what they bring to the table, are valuable. So it's nothing wrong with knowing your value and knowing your worth, right? I'll say that definitely, because that's important for men, and especially for women, knowing your value and your worth, right? But again, as I mentioned previously, notice that he's specifically addressed black women in this post. But the question is CJ Kang, y'all black Kang, right? Is CJ looking specifically for a black woman, right? Or is he open to, know, all women, different races of women, right? Or is he perhaps maybe prefers the black woman, but perhaps will deal with non-black women, if need be or something like that? What is I think that's something that probably should be brought up by black women too. Is like, what exactly are you looking for, CJ? You know, when it comes to black women. And some black women will come through and say, well, they ain't interested in CJ, so therefore they don't give a fuck what he looking for. Which is, definitely understandable and plausible. But just in general, I just, for this conversation, I think it is sort of important, because it's like if you ain't really checking for black women, then why you know, coming at them? Because sometimes that will happen when the dudes will come through, you know, criticizing black women about this, that, and the third, and they ain't really even checking for black women like that. So people may assume and feel like it's implied that he's checking for black women, but I think it's important to make sure you know that for a fact and know that for certain, you know, just, for the sake of this conversation anyway, right? And, but, all this being said, here's the gag of it, right? Here's the gag of it all, right? CJ's biggest win in the dating market, dating pool, whatever you want to have it, will probably be with a phenotypically black woman. That will probably be his biggest win, so to speak, right? Whereas, like, you could probably get the phenotypically black woman with the looks, the education, the achievements, um, the class, perhaps even the social status, even, right? So I personally think that CJ's biggest win is probably going to be with phenotypically black women. Is CJ looking for phenotypically black women? I don't know. No. Now, whether he'll take that win or not is another story. I don't know either. But, but of course, I could definitely see the situation, with CJ and as well as the other type of, well, is CJ even really considered kind of like high, like select, or high tier or select? Because he hasn't passed the bar yet. So he technically ain't really probably earning the money, you know. He could be working as like a paralegal and getting a couple of bucks, but not what he's banking on though, right? And when it comes to CJ, I think that he, when it comes to the dudes like CJ, I think they'll probably end up they'll they'll I could they'll settle for non-black women and non-black adjacent women who may not be like on their level, but because of their proximity to non-blackness, for him that's the prize. I could see that happening too, because that happens too. Whereas like, the higher up, the black man gets on the ladder of success, the more the phenotype changes in the terms of who they pursue and date, have kids with, marry, perhaps in that order or not. Right? But another question I want to throw out there, and this question is a sort of a little off subject, but it ultimately kind of relates though. Can CJ Kang professionally compete with his non-black men counterparts? His non-black male counterparts. Is he really like competitive? Like, will he be able to be competitive against them when it comes to, work, the job market, what have you? And then some people coming through and being like, his daddy owns a law firm. His daddy owns the law firm. He said he ain't got to do no thing like that. He said, and, kudos to his father for having a law firm. We don't know the status of this law firm. We don't know if it's just like a mom and pop type of law firm, or is it like some big deal law firm like he Johnny Cochran or something. We don't know that. But people acting like this is some, Johnny Cochran type shit coming through. Perhaps it is. I don't know for sure. If you know, let me know in the comments section. But folks coming through talking about his daddy got a law firm. Goddamn it, he said right now he got connections, right? But the thing is, he hasn't passed the bar, so even then, he wouldn't be able to really do much for his father besides the paralegal work, which is nothing to be ashamed of or to scoff at, But I'm just saying, he's not being able to do what he's kind of putting himself out there as being able to do, right? What he's putting himself out there as being valuable for, aka the prize, as he put it, is his law degree and perhaps the potential to be an high earner. I don't know. But another thing, though, when it comes to social capital, or as it's put in layman terms, connections. When it comes to connections, though, right? The thing is, connections will get you in the door, but they won't keep you in the door. Now, if his father is really about that business and CJ ain't, really helping the business at all, then his father will ultimately have to get rid of him, right? And we don't know for sure if his father would even want to hire him. If his father is really about that business. Now, it's his son, but if his father is really about that business and seeing how CJ kind of conducts himself, and plus he's his dad, so he kind of knows him, on a more intimate level, obviously. But then again, that could be an assumption too. We don't know their situation either. We don't know if his father was present in his life, like that or not. But again, we're just assuming for the sake of conversation, though. And, folks will come through and kind of blame CJ's attitude on single mothers, but then at the same time talk about his connections to his father's firm. It's like, okay, which one is it? Single mothers or the father? Yeah, because the father, you're acting like the father is, in the life, but then you're blaming the single mamas. So, but as we know, when white supremacy can't be blamed, then it's like black women, single mothers, that type of thing, without giving any sort of, backstory or context into why the single mother is like it is in the black community. I mean, it's not like black men have anything to do with it at all. It's just black women. They're just going around getting themselves pregnant, just all willy-nilly, and just wanting to be single mothers. God damn it. Black men are sexually responsible. Black women aren't. Ooh-wee. But another thing that came up during this situation is like black women and options, aka black women, divesting and leaving Blackistan, goddamn it, going their own way, going over to Swirltopia and finding themselves a non-black kind. So that kind of came up too. And I think for this conversation, I think that some black women were coming through kind of being like, well, what CJ had this attitude that black women were exploring their options more, and black women were talking about Black King, everything is Black King. You know, I scream, we all scream, I scream for ice cream. Black Kings, right? You know, mm, perhaps, but you know, and then some people are coming through, some black men are coming through and being like, well, do black women really have options? No, black women don't have options, so shut up. That's something that I've been kind of seeing floating around for a while anyway. Pretty much saying that black women don't really got options like that, except for like, the select black women out there, right? Kind of like, the normal everyday black women don't really got options like that, and non-black men aren't really checking for them like that, and there's not a line of non-black men willing to wife up and have, or even just have long-term relationships with black women like that. I've heard that being pushed, right? And the black men, only black women, they're sometimes they can kind of come off as seemingly, you know helping to prove that, in the way that they act sometimes. But you like what you like, you want what you want, right? We can't make people want what they don't want and like what they don't like. But sometimes, when you hear, the black men, only black women coming through talking about, I scream, you scream, we all scream for Black Kings, baby. Yes, want a Black King with a scoop of ice cream. Yeah, 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 yeah. Right? Then it kind of perhaps sends the message to black men that they are the prize, and it sends a message to non-black men that, well, I guess the black women ain't checking for non-black men, so let's just keep it moving. Perhaps, perhaps that could be play a factor into black women's, I guess, dateability, desirability on the dating market, things like that. Perhaps, But I do feel like a lot of the women, the black women who, be on that train and screaming it at the top of their lungs, they probably just know that black men are, you know, as good as it's going to get for them. Kind of like what I said earlier with CJ, as far as like winning is concerned. Like, I think black women, especially those black women, know that their biggest win in the dating market is going to be with black men. Not with non-black men, but with black men. Their stock is the highest with black men. They know that in other communities, they ain't really popping like that because they ain't really got what other communities are searching for like that, right? So for them, they're just letting it be known that this is just what it is, But I think I mentioned all I have to mention for the time being. But what do you guys think about all of this, coming on, going through here, Do you think that the men are the prize, the women are the prize? Do you think that is, valuable versus not valuable? Yeah. And as well, do you think that, the women, black women included, um, definitely like to be in the position to reject? To be able to reject dudes, And I do think that that could possibly be a factor into, black women screaming, some, screaming at the top of their lungs, Black Kangs only. Because, again, the same, knowing their worth in the dating market and knowing that they probably would end up being on the end of being rejected by non-black men. So they don't want to be on the end of that because they like to be the ones in the seat to reject versus be rejected, and I think that's across the board for all women. I don't think that's just a black woman thing, right? Yeah. But yeah, so what do you guys think about all of this? Let me know in the comments section. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.